Hey guys, just want to give a quick disclaimer before this episode. We are doing Michael Jackson Thriller. We don't really touch on the allegations towards Michael Jackson, but we do want to just let you guys know we believe all the survivors, and we have some links to resources in our bio and at the start of the video here if you guys are going through anything. If you do want to look more into, what's been accused of Michael Jackson, Leaving Neverland is a great documentary to watch. You kind of learn more of what happened, and you can make your own opinions and decisions on what happened. Like I said, we support all the survivors, and we thank you for listening.
Hello and welcome to Misfits on Vinyl. My name is Spencer Streichert. I am one of your hosts.
I am Aaron Walsh. I am also one of your hosts.
Aaron is an actor.
No, I am not.
Aaron is an actor. Aaron is actually, he booked a big role and he's not going to be on the next episode of the podcast.
Yeah, I'm going to the tropical city of Ottawa, Ontario. So I'll be missing an episode, maybe two, I'll see.
All right. Mm-hmm. And we do have an awesome sub guest coming in.
Yeah, we got some surprises coming your way.
We got some surprises coming
Sorry, I can't take you seriously.
I know, it's really hard to even have a conversation with this thing on because it keeps moving as I talk, and then that's fucking up my eyes.
But we are wearing this because this is our Halloween extravaganza.
Yeah, this is our Halloween extravaganza.
I spent $8.50 at Dollarama yesterday on these masks, so the budget has expanded. We're moving up.
Thinking about getting an inflatable pumpkin costume. Mm-hmm. Like, those pumpkin costumes that people put their babies in when they take them trick-or-treating?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I was going to get one of those, but like an adult-sized one. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't willing to spend $83 on a gag for the podcast.
Fair enough.
That's how much we value our listeners. I'm not willing to spend $83, but we'll spend $4 a piece.
Yeah, one thing I will say, Sam is dressed the best out of all of us.
Yes, Sam has the best costume out of any of us.
He's got like a wicked hammerhead shark costume on. He looks fucking awesome, and then we're wearing Dollarama specials. Sam's got like $100 fucking hammerhead shark costume on.
But you know what I will say? We did pick a consistent animal theme.
That's true.
We're all animals.
All right, I'm taking this fucking thing off.
Yeah, I gotta do this because, well, first of all, we need to do that so that we can actually have our beers too.
Oh, yes. What are we drinking today?
So we are drinking from Cabin Brewing. Shout out to Cabin Brewing. Chroma, which is a hazy Citra IPA with Phantasm.
Ooh, it's 8% alcohol.
8% alcohol.
Holy
Sam
fuck.
is trying to get us fucked up. Sam also, he crafted this beer. We're cracking these.
He's the brewist.
He's the brewist.
All right, pouring into our mugs, of course.
All right, our beautiful record mugs brought to us by Aaron's girlfriend Sarah.
I like this tradition, drinking beer every Saturday at 1 o'clock. Really?
You know what? I like this tradition too. I like the tradition of day drinking with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
I like it because I'm not doing it alone
now. Sam is no longer drinking alone on a Saturday afternoon, which is why we did this podcast in the first place.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I love how that sounds every time. Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
Holy
that's very
fuck,
citrusy.
That slaps.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one, Sam.
You know what? Sam told me before we started the podcast that this tasted like juice, and it really does.
It does taste like this. The Phantasm, what is it called? Phantasm is like a type of grape skin, he was saying. It fucking slaps. That thing is super tasty.
I thought that Phantasm, I just remember from the Mike Tyson Mysteries episode where they have the Phantasm.
Phantasm?
Phantasm.
I can't do a Mike Tyson.
Phantasm.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I'm gonna fuck you up.
That might be your best one yet, actually.
Listen, you son of a bitch. I'll fucking bite your ear off.
Yeah, all right. You can leave it at that before it starts getting bad. Knowing your impression skills.
My impressions are great. Mm-hmm. I can read.
So, Halloween extravaganza.
Extravaganza.
We got a couple Halloween stories, I guess, to start off the episode.
We do have a couple Halloween stories. Halloween is actually, it's interesting. Because, it's interesting for a lot of reasons, not just for me. But,
yeah. For me personally, Halloween is interesting.
Personally,
no.
Halloween is quite enjoyable. Mm-hmm. No, my very first high school party was a Halloween party that I crashed when I was in grade 8.
Nice.
And it was so much fun. Me and a couple of buddies, we were hanging out with a teacher friend of ours. We were at his place, like playing like Wii Sports. And then we heard that there was a party. And me and my one buddy who... he eventually became my roommate. I'm going to change all of the names in this story so that people don't get in any shit, because a lot of these people have kids and families now. But my one friend, we'll call him Brendan. Brendan
Fraser.
Yes, Brendan Fraser. He was like, oh, we should totally go to this party. I was like, yeah, this would be great. We go and we stand outside of the party, and we're too afraid to go in, so we're just standing on the front lawn. And then... I saw this friend of mine, whose name will be Zeke for the rest of this story.
Nice.
Zeke comes out. He's dressed as a hippie, and he, I didn't know, was on mushrooms. And that was the first time I saw a human being on drugs in my life, because I grew up in a small town. And Zeke was kind of like, he was kind of like a big brother to me. Like, he lived like at the farm right beside mine. Yeah. And so him and I got into like all kinds of shit growing up. But he was a few years older than me, right? Anyway, Zeke comes out and he's talking to us, and we we end up like going into the party, and immediately when we get into the party, everyone's just like, what the fuck? Because it's like everyone from the age of 16 to 27 is just at this party, because of course they are. Like, it's a small town high school party, so that means that like 27-year-olds are just
everybody goes. Yeah, everybody
go.
goes. Yeah, it makes sense.
And I had 3 beers that night.
Nice.
3 beers. It was fantastic. I watched as people egged a house. I did not
Classic
partake.
shenanigans.
Classic Halloween shenanigans.
Did you smash some pumpkins too?
No, I did not. I was really afraid of getting in trouble as a kid.
Nice.
I was really fucking afraid of getting
now
in
you
trouble.
don't give a fuck about anything.
Yeah, well, now I wouldn't do dumb shit like that.
Yeah,
though,
fair
either.
enough.
But like, I watched as this happened, and then Zeke was running down the street, and I saw, I was talking to a few other people, and Zeke was running down the street, and some like redneck guys I was standing with were like, man, what the fuck's your deal? And he's like, I'm on shrooms. And it's still one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Nice.
Yeah, he also like rolled around on the ground a bunch. I thought the drugs were a lot different, because it turns out that just hillbillies are not good at doing
That's
drugs.
one of those you kind of had to be there stories.
Yeah. Yeah, I realized that went
sorry,
fucking nowhere.
sorry to kill your vibe there, bro. It's one of those you kind of had to be there stories. Speaking of being there, we have one we could share that we went to together.
Jesus Christ. You let me go on, too. I fucking,
I know. I was waiting for something to happen. I was waiting for the punchline. You gave us all the fucking details.
Yeah.
And then it went nowhere. It's
No, it went nowhere. I think I was dressed up as Pamela Anderson, though.
No, that's good. That's
Yeah.
nice at least.
I had a nice pair of fake boobies.
Nice. That's good. Anyways, it's like,
Some balloon tatas.
when we lived in the big TO, Spencer is still, I guess, a frat member.
Zeta Psi fraternity,
But
baby.
we went to the big frat house
Which is the oldest fraternity house in Canada.
on St. George Street, and they're having a big shaker. We show up super early.
It's very early.
And hanging out, whatever. I go into the smoking room where I'm smoking some weed, whatnot, and I don't know what you were at.
I was smoking a little bit of the marijuanas. I was mostly drinking the brewskis.
Yeah, and
they had a keg.
I was dressed up. You remember my bogus ass fucking Halloween costume? I took a dirty pizza box from Pizza, and I cut a hole in it and stuck my face in
And then
it.
he put lipstick.
Yeah,
like,
I drew pepperonis on my
his
face, so I was a pizza for the party.
I was Waldo.
Yeah. Anyways, I was in this room for like a fucking hour, and I come out. There was like no one there when we got there, and I come out, and there's like fucking 600 people in this house, fucking people everywhere. And I was looking for you. I couldn't find you. I do a little walk around. Every room is stacked full of people. I'm fucking super baked out of my mind. Anyways, the night ends. I throw up black in the urinal, and I think we wrestled people outside. Is that the name we wrestled?
No,
people?
that was a different night.
Party. Okay,
yeah,
different
that was
party.
a different party. This was the one though where we were at the train station, and I was so hammered that I was like leaning on. The 2 ladies that were with us, and I was basically not able to stand. And then we got on the train, and our train station was out of service, so we had to walk like a
Oh,
mile.
yeah, I remember we had to walk. Fucking, you were hammered. Yeah, I remember
I was
we had to
fucking
walk.
wasted.
Yeah, up a hill too. That fucking
Yep.
massive hill.
I hate that hill.
Yeah.
Fuck you, St.
I
Clair.
think we got McDonald's too, if I remember.
We did get
correctly.
McDonald's.
Yeah, nice.
I do remember I got the fish fillet.
Oh yeah, I think they probably made fun of you for that.
Yeah, because I was at the time a pescatarian.
Anyways, we started this episode with 2 stories that went nowhere. Speaking of the...
Thank you for listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
I hope that you're enjoying it as much as our egos
two
are.
fucking lame stories today.
Jesus Christ. I know. And like a night when there should be a lot of things that we can talk about, and we absolutely just dropped the fucking ball.
No, I mean, I guess Halloween-wise, my dad, I think I told you this, one year I dressed up as a Mexican when I was like...
Oh, no.
Yeah, this is like, I was very young. And my dad
Oh,
drew
no.
on like a mustache. I carried around maracas,
Oh, no.
sombrero, and wore like a tight vest with like these fucking belts on. Anyways, my dad posts the photo every year, and I beg
Oh,
him not
no.
to. I beg him not to. But
Oh,
it gets posted
God.
on my birthday every year like clockwork.
I
So.
feel like we should insert the photos of our costumes in the podcast.
Were you at the party where I shaved my head?
No, I don't know if I was there or not.
Oh yeah, that was a Halloween party.
Oh, you know what? Maybe I'm.
And I was wearing this costume.
I don't know if I went to your
Really?
Halloween ones. I think I went to your New Year's party. Sam throws fucking wicked parties.
Sam throws ragers.
At his old house, they were fucking awesome. Kegs and fucking... What do we play? What's that game you're playing where you're smashing the table? Oh, fuck.
Oh, honeycomb.
Honeycomb, yeah. Yeah, honeycomb. Yeah. There was one guy that would come and he'd be like, honeycomb! 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 I just remember getting fucked up at Sam's house. Basically, took my first dab there at Sam's house. Like fucking.
Oh God, my first dab fucked me up bad.
I don't like them.
I don't like dabs.
Not
either.
for me. Not
No.
for me.
I thought that I would be able to do it and then go longboarding with my buddies.
No.
And I did it, and then I got on the longboard and I just went, I'm going home.
No, I like getting a little high. I don't like getting fucking stupid high.
Yeah.
No, it's not fun. Like, what's the appeal of getting so fucking high you can't even think straight?
I hate that, and I don't even like I like being able to maintain a conversation. I like being in control.
Yeah.
I think when you're younger, you do stupid shit, and you're just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, people that take them every day and like go like, they're like, I'm gonna drive to the grocery store and then I'm gonna go to work. And it's like,
Ugh.
let me take 15 dabs. It's like, holy fuck, how do you function?
I don't know how people can function and continuously smoke weed throughout the day.
Yeah, no.
I'm a late night smoker.
Yeah, I like to smoke at night too.
I like to smoke really late at night.
No, I'm not like an all. At some points in my life, I certainly was an all day every day. It's like, oh, gotta do laundry, better smoke a bowl. Gotta walk outside, gotta tie my shoe, better smoke a bowl. Everybody falls into that trap if you smoke weed on a regular basis. But now I've matured in my pot smoking. My pot smoking abilities have matured.
All right, well,
Did you
I've
fart?
just been farting for like 30 seconds.
Lovely.
Oh God. So, this episode of the podcast, we're gonna be reviewing a little known album.
No, it's like the guy is, he was on the up and up.
It was on the up and up.
Can't say everybody's gonna know this, so if you're not familiar, give it a listen.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's worth listening to, especially if you have not heard it yet. But the album that we're reviewing is Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Like the greatest selling album of all time.
The greatest selling album of all time. And this is an OG print, too. This is my mom's copy.
Oh, that's wicked. Nice.
So I had a copy, and then I ended up selling it because my mom gave me this one, and I was like, yeah, this is way better. It is the... well, I guess we should just start talking about it. I should probably turn it so that people can see it better.
Nice.
All right, so... greatest selling album of all time. It's Michael's 6th studio album. It was released November 30th, 1982. Another album that came out that year, Prince's Purple Rain.
Nice.
Which is, again, another banger. I feel like if this had came out a year later, Purple Rain probably would have been, bigger.
Yeah, we should review Purple Rain at some point.
I would love to review
I'm
Purple Rain.
a big Prince fan.
I love that album. So this is a huge album. We mentioned best-selling album of all time. It was produced by Quincy Jones, who legendary producer. He's the only thing he has not won is an Oscar, so he's got almost an EGOT. which is fucking crazy. He's won like so many Grammys. He's won a Tony, a ton of Emmys, because he scores films on top of being an incredible producer. His arrangement for Sinatra's "Fly Me to the Moon" was the first song played on the moon.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Which I thought that was a pretty fucking.
I think he does Soul Bossa Nova as well, which is an awesome fucking track.
Yeah.
It's like the Austin Powers theme song. Yeah,
wicked. And he even made a cameo in Austin Powers in Goldmember, because there's in the intro sequence they show him composing it, and then Austin Powers is like, "Mr. Quincy Jones, everybody." Okay, so this album though, Michael Jackson wanted to create an album where every song was a killer. 7 singles cracked the top 10, and most commercially successful album of all time, like we've mentioned. But 7 singles out of the 9 songs on this album were top 10 hits.
Yeah.
The only 2 that were not in the top 10 were the only 2 that were not singles. Which is, maybe if they had put them out there, we would have had
pretty impressive album, like through and through. Pretty wicked,
pretty fucking wicked. It's also impressive because it's a mix of pop and post disco and rock and R&B, and like every song feels like it has a different style to it. Like it's weird because it's an album that is cohesive and you can listen to it front to back and not get taken out. But there are very distinct genres that are
which is I think a testament to how freaking talented Michael Jackson was. Like just in general, like he not only is he singing on all these songs, but he's also got a huge he's involved in the production as well. He's very strong on his opinions on what he was doing. I was reading actually with Billie Jean. Quincy Jones wanted to cut the intro a little bit and shorten it. The bass riff and all that stuff. And Jackson was staying strong and saying, no, not a chance, not a chance, not a chance. And that's, a legendary song. Yeah. So little things like that, Michael, not everybody, a lot of artists do that, but on these legendary songs to have that sort of, influence on it.
And especially at the time too, because this is still a time when like black artists were not given the same sort of respect that white artists were. And like we mentioned, this is his 6th studio album, but this is only his 2nd solo album. His first solo album, Off the Wall, was a huge hit, and especially for a like black artist at the time, incredible hit. But he follows that up with this album, which, you said, like, he's able to tell Quincy Jones no.
Yeah, and no, not a chance.
And, like, that in and of itself is fucking insane.
It's pretty cool.
Okay, so, speaking about the themes of the album, it's got a lot of themes of paranoia, the contradiction of his fame versus how he was perceived. He wanted to show a more sensitive side of himself and also speak of his fear of confrontation, but there's also a lot of emotional urgency to his music. Off the Wall felt way more happy.
Yep.
This one, like, don't get me wrong, I can listen to almost any song on this and have a smile on my face. But if you actually break it down, you're like, oh shit, there is some serious stuff going on in these lyrics.
Well, it kind of, this is kind of the pre to the rest of his sort of music touches on these sort of themes as paranoia, and it also plays into like his odd behavior as a human being as well. Like just some of the weird things he did and some of the stuff like holding his baby on a balcony, like weird shit like that he did.
Or taking his chimpanzee Bubbles to Japan.
Yeah, like he's he's a weirdo. He's certainly an outsider, a weirdo. He's got a strange personality.
He's an eccentric motherfucker.
He certainly fucking is.
But I also noticed, because I was watching a lot of interviews from him around that time, he wanted to be an artist. He did not want to be famous.
No.
And you can see that in a lot of his interviews. Like there's one where they ask him like, how do you come up with such popular music? And he has this answer that's like kind of funny, but he's like, well, I don't really think about it that much. I just think of it like, how a painter looks at a blank canvas and then they create something. It's all about the creation. It's not about the final product. And I was like, that's actually pretty fucking cool, especially because he was like 24 at the time, right? So he's able to look at that, and granted, his whole life he's been put in the spotlight. But he said he's most comfortable when he's performing, and you can see that because in every interview he's very fucking uncomfortable.
Yep. Yeah, and I think with a lot of artists, even with our experiences being actors or, doing stage performances.
So you are an actor.
Sometimes.
You are an actor.
Make me lose my train of thought. Anyways, when you're performing on stage, if you're comfortable with it, you kind of take on a different persona. You get a different confidence. You get you're comfortable. You might not be comfortable who you are as a person outside of the stage, but you're comfortable in a place where, you shouldn't be comfortable. You're in front of 500 people, performing a play, and you're oddly in like a Zen mode, or you're very comfortable. Like he's performing to 30,000, 40,000, 50, 60,000 people, and he's in like he's completely comfortable, where maybe in his personal life he wasn't very comfortable with who he was as a person, which is interesting. But I think a lot of artists feel that way.
And I think that like you say, like we both know people that are like that, and it's super creepy when you see people that are like that, because it is weird. There is not that they are like, it's not that they're fucked up for thinking that way, but it's weird seeing that mindset.
Yeah, well, someone could like be uncomfortable in a one-on-one conversation, and then they get on stage and they're performing in front of even hundreds of strangers or 20 strangers, and they're perfectly comfortable. It's a weird juxtaposition, I guess.
It's super fucking weird. I mean, I'm personally not comfortable performing for 20 strangers, but I'm comfortable performing in front of 500 strangers.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. In performing sometimes too, it's way more uncomfortable when people are going to be there.
Oh, I hate
performing in front of strangers. It's completely. I'm 100% fine, but I know like, oh, my sister, my brother's there, my parents, or my friends. He throws you right for a loop.
I used to love it. When I was starting out, and now I hate it. Now it makes me really uncomfortable when I know that people I know are there.
I don't think I ever liked it personally.
Yeah,
it doesn't hype me up. It makes me more nervous.
It also takes me out of whatever I'm doing, because I'm thinking like, where are they in the audience?
Yeah.
For instance, when I opened for Jim Jeffries, which everybody's been making fun of me for saying that I've done that a lot, but it's only because I keep fucking, like, people that are around me a lot hear me telling people that haven't heard this story
like when
yet.
you went to that party and you're like, he introduced himself to everybody at the party. I'm Spencer Streichert. I'm a Canadian Comedy Award nominee. Every single person, like 100 people. I'm Spencer. I'm a Canadian Comedy Award nominee.
I did do that.
Yeah.
But when I did that, what I thought was really funny, I didn't realize that my parents were sitting like I knew that they were in the front, but I actually did not know where they were, and I intentionally did not look them out.
Yeah.
But after the show, Jim was like, "Your fucking parents, they fucking won't laugh at anything." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't know where they were." Yeah. Okay, so going on to this album, something that's really impressive is, not only was Michael a talented artist and Quincy Jones a talented producer, they brought in literally the best musicians to be a part of this like recording. Bass guitarist Louis Johnson, who worked with Donna Summers, Aretha Franklin, John Mellencamp, Barbra Streisand. Eddie Van Halen wrote and recorded the guitar and Beat It, which is one of the most iconic guitar riffs of all time.
Yeah, pretty freaking wicked. That was Halen, man.
Yeah, no, incredible. And then 16-time Grammy winner David Foster, who's Canadian. He did the synth on The Girl Is Mine.
Nice.
Jeff Porcaro, who was the drummer for Toto and Steely Dan, and the most recorded session musician of all time.
That's pretty cool.
Was also involved, and jazz trombonist Bill Reichenbach Jr. I fucked up his name. Reichenbach Jr. He worked with literally everyone from Dolly Parton to fucking Seal to John Mayer. He was the trombonist in the album.
That's pretty cool.
So everybody that was in it, involved in some way, was actually top of their field.
Yeah, that's pretty. I want to do a quick sidebar about Toto. Since we're speaking about the drummer, Rosanna, the starting drum for Rosanna, that's pretty fucking wicked.
That is a wicked.
So I recommend listening to their stuff outside of Africa.
No, Africa is a weak song.
Yeah, compared to their other stuff, I recommend listening to some of Toto's other tracks.
Yeah, Rosanna is very, very happy too. You listen to that song and you're just like, oh,
and Hold the Line.
Oh, Hold the Line.
We'll be doing Toto.
Love isn't always on time. No.
We'll be doing Toto. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. I love Toto.
Okay, so finishing the album. So we already talked about how each song is a distinct style, different genre influences. Thriller, the video, which was highly anticipated, was played twice an hour on MTV to keep up with the demand. He revolutionized music videos. He really changed it because he wanted to make music videos that were actually like a short film and told a story.
This is a turning point for MTV and for, I guess, music videos as an art in general. You know, people like originally when music videos started to become popular, people started doing music videos. It was an afterthought. It's a side thing. It's very simple. Usually, it's just it's just a video of the band singing, basically, and a location, whatever it may be. There's no story involved. There's not a lot of thought put into it. Like I said, this is the big one that changed music videos. It's 14 minutes long.
14 minutes.
The original is 14 and a half minutes long.
I watched it a couple of times, like in prep for this, and it's so funny because, like, first of all, I can see why it was so popular.
Yeah.
There's so much thought that went into that fucking video. And I'm kind of going to, I guess, go off topic and give away my fun fact now. Because the director of the Thriller music video was John Landis, who is one of my favorite directors of all time. He directed Animal House, Blues Brothers, Coming to America. He's got, just an insane filmography. And he had just come off of directing Blues Brothers, which has... everything in that movie. Like, it's, I will say this, it doesn't hold up as a comedy, and it's not because the jokes are dated, it's because, like, the timing of, like, late 70s comedies is very different from nowadays, Like, you could have a lot of space in it. But as a film, it's got everything that you'd want. It's got car chases, it's got dance numbers, it's got, these insanely...
Soul Man is an awesome song. Yeah.
It's so good. All the cameos. Are you kidding me? Like, it was incredible. And that movie has the record for the highest car budget because of the car chase scene at the end.
That's cool.
Where they flip over all those cop cars. So John Landis comes off of that and then directs a 14-minute long music video. I mean, in that time, he also killed 3 people on the set of the Twilight movie, but, like, and by the way...
It's a give and take. It's a give and take.
By the way, I have to say this, because I looked at his Instagram, because I wanted to see what John Landis was up to nowadays. He posts a lot of pictures of, like, him and Michael Jackson, because he worked with him a lot after that.
Yeah.
But all of the comments on John Landis's posts are like... You piece of shit, you murdered 3 people. I just saw the documentary. You fucking murdered 3 people. You should fucking die. I hope a helicopter lands on you. And I'm like, whoa, okay. First of all, like, you didn't know about that for 40 fucking years. This guy is, like, in his 80s. And, like, I'm not forgiving what he did at all. Like, obviously, like, he killed people on a movie set. That's bad. But, maybe don't comment, I hope a helicopter lands on you and your family. Like, fucking, like, what the hell?
I mean, he's no Alec Baldwin.
He's no Alec Baldwin. He didn't shoot someone at point blank range. Okay, so
should we do some notable tracks?
Well, we gotta do about the artist first.
Okay, let's do it.
So, the King of Pop was born August 29th, 1958 in Gary, Indiana. He was the 8th child in the Jackson family.
Damn.
Huge family. Everybody was in music. His mom, Catherine. Sorry, I just have pop-ups. His mom, Catherine, played the clarinet and the piano, and she wanted to be a country western singer. And to supplement that, she worked part-time at Sears. Okay. His father, Joe Jackson, former pro boxer. He was a crane operator, and he was a, like, rhythm and blues guitarist, and that was kind of how he supplemented the family income.
Yeah.
So both parents were, like, they wanted to be performers, but they didn't have, have the ability to pursue it full time. Michael made his professional debut in 1964 with his brother's band, which originally was called the Jacksons. Then when he joined the band and his other brother joined the band, they became the Jackson 5. Obviously, they are a huge, like, influence on music.
Yeah, big group. And I mean, just think how early he started in his life. You know, performing at a professional level. I know they
6
did.
years old.
I know they did lots of clubs.
Yeah.
They did lots of clubs in that time. Even before they had their big hits, they were touring pretty constantly. I know they were doing a lot of the, you know, African-American clubs in Indiana and surrounding areas, going to Illinois, going to Chicago.
And Diana Ross put them on an album too, which was very early on into like their career.
Yep.
They had 3 Grammy nominations, 3 fucking Grammy inducted into like the Hall of Fames, and they 18 top 20 hits, 4 number 1 hits, and over 1 million records sold worldwide.
Crazy. And they were all kids mostly.
They were all children.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
It's fucking insane.
You don't really see that as much anymore. Back then, they had, you know, they had the Osmonds, they had the Jacksons, like these family bands. You don't see them as much anymore.
Or like Shirley Temple, you know, like
Hanson.
Yeah, child exploitation was okay until the 90s. Everyone.
Yeah, people gotta grow up a little bit. They matured on that subject too. But yes, the exploitation of them, I guess, is something we could talk about too.
Well, and that's something that we definitely have to talk about, because I found this exact quote, and I really want to I think that this will help us kind of, you know, get an idea of who Michael Jackson is. So Michael said his father told him he had a fat nose and physically and emotionally abused him during rehearsals. He recalled that Joe often sat in a chair with a belt in his hand as he and his siblings rehearsed, ready to punish any mistakes. Joe acknowledged that he regularly whipped Michael, but Catherine said that although whipping came to be considered abuse, it was common to discipline children when Michael was growing up.
Which is it's weird between all the siblings. I know some of the other siblings say that it wasn't abusive. Some do say it was abusive. It's, you know, I personally stand on the side. It's probably pretty freaking abusive.
Yeah.
I mean, if you fuck up a lyric or, you know, you miss a note, you're going to get whipped with a belt. Like, that's crazy.
That's probably why he became such a good dancer, though, too.
Well, he said, I know Michael Jackson said, you know, that quote was from his Oprah interview. But he was saying, like, yeah, you know, that was horrendous to happen to me, but it's also probably why I have such a, you know, strive for perfection. And he attributed some of that to his success, which, you know, you can think about it a couple different ways, but whether he's just saying that to, you know, protect his father or he actually truly believes it, who knows? But it's certainly a pretty shocking thing to hear that someone would do that to their own children.
Well, and it's kind of dark because it kind of goes into the thing of like, you know, a lot of comedians have had like, well, artists in general, but I want to mention it with comedians, right? A lot of comedians have rough upbringings. A lot of us have depression. And then there's the argument of like, does that make the artist who they are, right? And I don't know. I think that it helps you perceive the world differently, but I think that if somebody's funny, they're funny.
Yeah, I mean, does art have to come from like pain and trauma? No, exactly. I mean, it's a some of it certainly does, but I think it's there's two sides to the argument. I've heard that before too. You know, people are like, oh, the best artists are all, you know, traumatized and had terrible childhoods, whatever it may be. There's certainly some of them that have, but others that haven't. So.
And I mean, I think that artists go through dark phases. I mean, you saw my dark phase.
Yeah, I did.
Where I was listening to fucking Daniel Johnson's story of the artist. And I'm like, this will be played at my funeral.
I had one too, and I was listening to Elliott Smith all the time. I was like, we got really into Elliott Smith, and I was like, man, this is depressing.
Oh, dude, it's so bad. Like, it's so hard to get out of that cycle too, because you're like, no, this is just who I am now, man.
It's like, yeah,
I'm so fucking.
I'm so
sad.
moody and edgy all the time. I want to wake up in the morning and listen to fucking sad music all day.
I'm gonna smoke cigarettes and drink coffee, and that's gonna be my whole
It's
life.
romantic, dude.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I'm just like, you don't understand me. I'm an artist, okay?
Everything that's shitty that you're doing, you're like on like shit, sitting on the shitty fire escape, chain smoking cigarettes, and you're like listening to sad music. Like, oh man, there's something romantic about this.
Yeah, no. Realistically, and that was like when we lived together in Toronto. That was part of my like dark artist period.
Yeah. Oh, I went through one too.
And it was also bad because I was in a play at the time that was very fucking dark. Directed by Evelyn Long. Shout out to Evelyn Long, lead singer of the Sunstrokes.
Thanks for liking our Facebook posts.
Yeah, thanks for sharing our podcast too.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
But what I think is really funny is like, I got headshots at that time, and I was $140, and I didn't realize how underweight I was until I like looked back on it, and I'm like, I had like the sunken eyes, I had bags under my eyes. I was literally living off of a diet of pizza puffs, coffee, cigarettes, and sadness.
Happy Mart. What was it called? I can't remember.
The fucking
the 24-hour gas station we used to do all of our grocery shopping at.
And I would buy bongs from there too.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, we went through that around the same time. Just to be clear, you don't have to be sad and emotional to be an artist. We're not sad people, and to try to fit in that box is not something you have to do.
No.
Just a little sidebar for anybody that's trying to discover their artistic personality.
Guess what? You can create really good art without being a fucking downer.
You don't have to be depressed all the time.
Yeah.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to fit that role. The tortured artist is not fun. You don't have to be that.
All right, so we're going to move on with the album here. Or not with the album, with the artist. So, in 1977, Michael Jackson decided to move to New York City because he was starring in The Wiz as the Scarecrow. It was directed by Sidney Lumet. He was starring alongside Diana Ross.
That's cool.
And that's where he met Quincy Jones.
Nice.
Yeah. So this is the beginning of his solo career, okay? So his fifth studio album, which was his solo album, Off the Wall, established him as a performer, helped him move from, like, this kid that everyone was like, oh, like, look at how cute he is. Suddenly he was, singing about, like, partying.
Yeah.
Fucking, like,
having fun.
Lots
of disco tracks.
Tracks.
Yeah, fun album.
Off the Wall is such a fun album. I personally think, like, out of, like, because there's realistically, there's 3 albums of Michael Jackson's that we all, can think of. It's like Off the Wall, Thriller, and Bad. I feel like Off the Wall is the most fun.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, I can agree to that.
So he had a bunch of, top 10 hits with that. Sold 20 million copies worldwide, which is also really good. Then the 80s roll around, and he becomes a fashion, a dance, and a music icon. Really changes everything in the 80s. Like, it really sets the fucking tone.
He is the most famous person in the world at the time. Like, everybody knows Michael Jackson. Everyone knows his music. All of his, like I said, all of his songs are charting. His music videos are hitting. His performances are, all over TV. He's meeting with Ronald Reagan. He's, doing anti-drug campaigns. He's everywhere. He's everywhere.
He actually is bridging a lot of the gap with racism too.
He certainly is.
It doesn't matter if it's black or white. No, but like it's crazy. Like his stardom. It's so funny because, like, I remember when we were in high school, people were talking about Justin Bieber, and a lot of people wanted him to be the next Michael Jackson. He doesn't hold a fucking candle to Michael Jackson.
Pre-internet too, he had that sort of fame. Like one of those, once in a lifetime artists. He is the king of pop. He's untouchable in his music. I mean, you can't come close to all the hits he had. Even you read the list of off this album. It's incredible. You hear him on the radio on a regular basis.
7 top 10 hits off this album.
This album has some artists' careers basically on one album. It's insane. And
more than most careers.
More than most careers. It's pretty wicked.
How many people have like 1 or 2 hits?
Yep.
And those cover usually a couple of albums. He has 7 fucking hits off of one album.
Yeah.
In November 1983, Jackson and his brothers partnered with PepsiCo in a $5 million promotional deal.
It's worth like $13 million today, right? 13.9 million, yeah.
And it's so funny because the commercials were so ridiculous. Like, you watch them now and you're like, this would not make anybody buy a Pepsi. I mean, now we have Kendall Jenner
handing out
Pepsi
to rioters. Yeah,
and
Pepsi's never been good with ads.
No,
or pyrotechnics apparently.
Yeah, because they burnt the fuck out of his scalp.
Yeah, he got burnt. Pyrotechnic malfunction.
He also okay, so it was his scalp and his face is what it was, and that required plastic surgery then. So this was kind of the beginning of like the plastic surgery era of Michael Jackson. Okay. He had a rhinoplasty before, which, like, as we mentioned, his dad made fun of his nose, which is probably, like, That's fucked up.
There's some deep-rooted things there,
shit there. And if you look at Michael Jackson, like, as a kid, like, there was nothing wrong with his nose. That was really fucking, like, unnecessary, you know?
It's unfortunate, like we were talking about earlier. I mean, he butchered himself, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it's sad to see. I mean, you look at, especially in his later life, man, he doesn't even look like a human being. Like, it's pretty jarring.
It's really jarring.
Yeah.
And I want to just go on if we're talking about his appearance. So he was diagnosed with vitiligo, which is, it causes skin blotches. And so it like changes the pigment in people's skins.
That's originally why he was wearing the white glove, right?
Yeah.
Covering up, he's obviously a very, rightfully so, I guess he's insecure from his father or from the press. So he has some serious insecurities and then obviously some health stuff going on, some medical issues.
And I think that would happen if you're, from the time you're 6 years old, you're famous.
Yeah.
You grow up with nothing other than fame. But he had that, and then he also had lupus. So the combination of the two, he started wearing fair makeup.
Yep.
And he started using what was supposed to be at the time like skin cream that would help even out his skin. What was not known at the time was that it was actually skin bleaching agents in it. So that's when he started to look, like he was becoming white.
Yeah.
But there's a quote that he said where he was like talking about how he didn't bleach his skin purposely and he could not control his condition. So he said, when people make up stories that I don't want to be who I am, it hurts me. Now, I don't know if you've seen the videos of Michael Jackson being just straight up hood.
Yeah, you sent one in the group chat. Yeah.
And it's so fucking funny because like he has a deeper voice when he's not like when he wasn't in interviews.
Yeah.
When it was like he didn't know that people were like recording or anything like that.
Get that fucking camera out of my face.
Get that fucking camera out of my face.
Yeah.
My favorite though is that there was apparently some people hanging out in the dressing room, and he didn't want them there, but he didn't say anything. He was being really polite. And when they left, he turns to the guy that was with him and he goes, "Man, I thought those motherfuckers were never gonna leave."
I mean, to be fair, he's from Gary, Indiana. I don't know if anybody knows anything about Gary nowadays, but Gary is like not a good place to live. Yeah, not a good place to live at all.
And a fucking terrible name for a child.
Yeah, it is. It's if I remember correctly,
Gary!
A steel mill town where the workers had to pay to live in the town where they worked. And then,
so like a Springsteen song.
Yeah, basically like a Springsteen song. We're visiting episode 1. But yeah, shitty town. All the guns that go to Chicago nowadays, where there's tons of gang violence, go through Gary, Indiana.
Wow.
So yeah, certainly something nowadays. That town is terrible. It's got like Detroit vibes, broken down houses. Whole neighborhoods are abandoned. So Gary was, I don't know back then, it was probably starting its downward trend, but Gary was not a good place to live. It's not a good place to live nowadays either. So
yeah,
fun little fact.
I'm gonna take a shot here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Say that they really wanted to fire a bullet out of that town to start him.
Yeah, that was bad. That was bad, Spencer.
I know that one sucked. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so going back to 1985, he records "We Are the World," which he co-wrote with Lionel Richie.
Yeah.
Which is fucking funny.
But
they recorded it right after the Grammys. Literally everyone that was on that song went from the Grammys, like the ceremony, to record this song. And there's a video of Michael Jackson like directing everyone. He's like, "All right, guys, come on, let's go get in line here." It's so fucking funny. It's really funny. And then you watch as Bob Dylan didn't want to fucking be there. And Bob Dylan's just like,
You remember when they did that with all the Canadian artists for Wave and Flag? And there's like so many people, like, a couple, and there's so many people like, who the fuck is that? And then Justin Bieber does the little Michael Jackson part, gets his own little solo little section. Yeah, half the artists, you're like, who the fuck is that? Like,
you know what? I gotta say, it's so funny because this year, Kanon played at Folk Fest here in Calgary.
Nice.
And
That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
I missed it, but I also didn't realize that excuse me, he had 2 hits, not just Waving Flag.
What's the other one?
I forget now.
Is that the name of the song, or you just forgot?
No, I forgot. I was hoping you wouldn't ask, honestly. But
I know Waving Flag.
There was another one, though, because I saw a bunch of videos from Folk Fest that they were posting, and I was
You're
like,
oh, I know this song.
oh, I know this song. By the way, you know what we should do? We should campaign to record a podcast at Folk Fest this year.
That'd be fun.
That'd be so dope.
What's the name of the song? Sam's laughing about something.
I opened this Spotify, and you know how it has like the top 5.
Yeah.
It's all Waving Flag, Coca-Cola. Waving Flag, new version.
When I get older.
I don't know.
His only hit is Waving Flag.
His only hit is Waving Flag. Okay, but how do we feel about this, Sam? We're gonna campaign to record a podcast at Folk Fest.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, I'd do that. Folkfest's head office used to be behind my apartment, so...
I interviewed Folk Fest for my TV show.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Alberta Picnic. You should watch it on Tell a Story Half. By the way, I have to actually say something.
I haven't seen your show.
No, I don't think anyone has. I just need to say this. Yeah, I just need to say this. Last episode, I made fun of it.
Yes.
I do not hate the show itself. I just hate TELUS as a company. I have to
nice.
clarify, okay? And I feel very confident in saying that. They were very not nice to me.
I do have an announcement, though. We just got a sponsorship with TELUS. So we take back anything Spencer just said.
Yeah, so we're gonna lose money on this podcast.
But you know what? You know what TELUS is better than? Rogers. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. If anybody knows anything about Canada, we have terrible cellular networks, terrible prices, and Rogers shut down for a whole day, like, I don't know, like 3 or 4 months ago. Yeah, it fucked up everybody's day. I couldn't fucking get money out of the bank. You couldn't like use bank machines anywhere.
The day Rogers shut down, everyone that I worked under at TELUS shared the same fucking meme that was like Canadians looking at TELUS with Rogers looking at them like, ugh. And I was like, oh, I hate you so much. I hate that you're drinking the company Kool-Aid, you fucking losers.
To be clear, they all suck.
They all suck.
Bell, Rogers, TELUS, they all fucking suck.
Well, I'll say Bell doesn't just because I really want to get on Roast Battles Canada. But other than that, the other companies, they are all awful.
Bell sucks.
Okay, that does not reflect me. No. Okay, so in 1987, he releases Bad.
Nice.
It's also a hit. In 25 countries, it was the #1 album at once.
That's pretty cool.
Which that is, it was not the same with Thriller. That was the first time that ever happened, which is pretty fun crazy. He had a lot of hits off that album too. It was not as big, obviously, but it's kind of hard to, like, okay, can you imagine if he went Dangerous, Off the Wall, Bad, Thriller, and then just quit? You know, like his progression would be like so fucking good, and then he could just end it at Thriller.
Just stop there.
Just stop there. Tour for the rest of his life. He would never have to do another thing.
Speaking of Thriller, one thing I wanted to mention, 34 times platinum. So
Yeah,
that's
which is
nutty.
Fucking insane.
We learned what platinum was, so 34 times, something like 70 million copies. Like, pretty nuts.
For a single record, which is insane.
It's like the double the Canadian population.
Also, I want to mention, because like this is kind of around this time. So he had a friendship with Paul McCartney, and his friendship started because when he wanted to do The Girl Is Mine, he started writing a song, and then he got Paul McCartney's phone number, and he phones up Paul, and Paul's like, "Who's this?" And he's like, "This is Michael." And he's like, and then Michael's like, "I want to write a song with you." And Paul was like, "All right, that sounds good." And then Michael Jackson just showed up at his fucking house. He didn't like tell him he was coming or anything. He showed up at his house, and they wrote The Girl Is Mine together. And Paul McCartney talked about this afterwards in like promotional for like the song coming out, and he was like, "Yeah, he just showed up and we wrote the song. He had an idea for what he wanted to do, and then we did it." What I think is really funny, Michael learned that because Paul told him that he was making $40 million a year off of other artists' music just from owning the rights to it. So Michael wanted to get involved with that. Then the Beatles catalog, as well as like 4,000 other songs, came up. Paul wanted to buy it with Michael. He didn't want to buy it on his own. And then the deal fell through, and then Michael just fucking bought it himself. So then he was making insane bank because he's making his own money plus the Beatles plus these 4,000 other songs that like.
And his family still gets royalties off the
Yeah.
Beatles stuff, right? I think equivalent to today, I was reading this too. It's something like $125 million he bought the catalog for, which is insane. Yeah, which is nutty.
Which is nuts because I guarantee you that he's making 3 times.
Oh, probably. Most definitely.
Okay, so 1988, he releases Moonwalk, which is his autobiography. It's a New York Times bestseller, sold 200,000 copies. Talks about a lot of stuff in there. I don't think it would have been as honest as an autobiography nowadays.
No.
I think that there was a lot of things he probably kept out at that time because that was before, the Oprah interview where he really opened up and stuff. But at the end of the decade, President George H.W. Bush designated him the White House's Artist of the Decade.
I didn't know that was an award they could give out.
I didn't either.
No, you learn something new every day.
You learn something.
I know Obama gave it out to Kendrick Lamar.
Oh,
Obama gave it to
Lamar.
Kendrick? That's insane.
Pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that was a thing.
That is a really cool. You know what I like is that's 2 black artists that have been Artist of the Decade.
By the White House.
By the White House. Yeah, you know why? Because white people have no rhythm.
Yeah,
It literally comes down to that.
I mean, I personally cannot dance, so
I dance every time at the when I'm doing door work, and I think that's what intimidates people to not want to.
Yeah,
fuck
I was gonna
with
say
me.
that's probably why people aren't showing up to the club nights
Yeah.
here out front.
I think that no. I think what it is they're like, I don't want to get in trouble because I don't want him to touch me and have his lack of rhythm run off on me.
Yeah, my movement skills, like I can dance and I'm like I do the same 3 moves. I'm not a good dancer. I'll never be a good dancer. I've accepted it. I still dance though. So
See, I got 2 parts of my lineage that are very dance heavy, but then I have Swedish and Finnish, and that fucking is not dancey at all.
I'm like 100% Irish. No rhythm, just potatoes. No rhythm. Yeah.
Which, by the way, are not native to Europe.
Didn't know that.
They
either.
were only native to North America. They actually got brought over to Europe, and then because they were
Did a
so
back and forth thing.
cheap to produce, like so easy to produce, they became a staple everywhere. But then when there was when the potato famine happened, it was because all these farmers in Ireland had changed their crops to entirely potatoes. So when this disease came through and wiped out specifically potatoes, it fucked up the entire crop for all of Ireland.
Well, that's how my family ended up here, was potato famine.
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck. That was really random fact. I'm glad that I knew that.
Yeah,
though.
there you go.
Okay, so in 1991, he releases Dangerous. Black or White becomes a #1 hit. He also composed the music for Sonic 3.
The video game?
The video game.
Nice.
But then he went uncredited because of the sexual assault allegations at the time. But what's really funny about it though is he was a huge Sonic fan, like an Uber fan, and he loved Sega so fucking much. So he composes the music for Sonic 3. He goes uncredited, but in the recent Sega compilation that had like Sonic and stuff on it, his music is removed because his kids did not want, his estate did not want his music in the
Interesting.
in the new one, so they had to redo the music, which I think is super fucking crazy.
They had to redo the Sonic in the movie.
Yeah. Sonic is a lot of redoing.
Yeah, you know what they need to redo next? Chris Pratt as Super Mario.
Oh, God.
Did you see that fucking trailer? Another little quick sidebar. It's like, you think he's going to be like, hey, it's me, I'm Mario. He's like, no, it's me, Chris Pratt. What's up, guys?
Yeah.
Like, fucking terrible, dude.
I hated that, but I did really like Toad.
Yeah, Toad's alright.
Toad's great. Jack Black's Bowser's great.
Yeah, but Chris Pratt as Mario, just doing Chris Pratt. Sounds like fucking Buddy from the Lego movie. It's the same voice. It's literally, he just does Chris Pratt. And I remember seeing that he was talking about like how hard he had to work on the Mario voice. And it's just fucking him as Chris Pratt.
God, I
and
hate
Charlie
that
Day
so
as
much.
Luigi. Yeah.
Charlie Day as Luigi, actually, his natural voice would sound better.
Interesting casting choices, no doubt.
A very interesting casting choices. Okay, so in 2001, Jackson 5 reunited for a couple of concerts at Madison Square Gardens just to commemorate the 30th anniversary of Michael's solo career.
Nice.
All of those shows sold out. Those are shows I would have fucking loved to have been.
That'd have been pretty cool. Yeah.
Because that would have been all the Jackson 5 hits, all of Michael Jackson's hits, and then they also had like LaToya and Janet come out there as well. So that would have been really cool because it would have been a lot of different, different elements of the Jackson family.
It's pretty cool. That does sound, Madison Square Garden. Yeah, pretty wicked. Was it? Did you say what year did you say it was?
2001.
Was it? What month? I was gonna say if it was pre 9/11, it'd be pretty fucking wicked.
See, I don't remember that part. I don't remember if it was pre or post. If it was pre, it would be really fucking wicked.
It would be nice.
Because like honestly, I don't think that the year 2000 was the turning point. I really feel like September 11th was the turning point.
Yeah, the world certainly changed after that day.
Because like I remember, like I don't know if you remember 9/11.
I don't.
Okay, I was 6. Was it pre or post?
September 10th, 2000.
Oh my
Holy
god.
shit.
September 10th, 2001.
Wow.
That is insane.
One fucking day off of having an awful concert.
Oh my god.
Wow.
That wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, that would not have
That's
happened.
nutty. That's a good
Two
little
shows, September 7th and September 10th.
September
Wow.
7th. Good little fucking good job, Sam.
Yeah.
Sam the Tech Man.
Sam the Tech Man. We got to give him the snaps. Give him
So
the snaps.
September 10th, 2001, they had that concert.
That's crazy. And that was the last time that they all played on stage together.
Wow, nice.
What is really crazy, because I do remember September 11th.
See, I do not.
I was 6 years old at the time, but the only reason I remember it is because a bunch of my teachers all coincidentally had children that worked either in New York or in the World Trade Center. 2 of their kids like worked as like daycare people in the trade centers.
Wow.
So I remember getting on the bus, going to school, and then literally the bus turning around and going back home. And then I remember coming in and it was all on the TV, and it was like replays at that point because there was a huge time difference, right? Of like fucking 3 hours.
It was the Sports Center highlight reel.
Yeah, I walk into my living room at like 6 years old, and I watch a plane fly into the World Trade Center, and I was like, oh, okay. And my grandpa, I just remember him being like, we're going to war now, and then he started telling me awful things like, well, you'll probably have to fight in a war in your lifetime now, and I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm 6. Why are you doing this to me? Also, my parents were divorcing at the time, so life was not good for Spencer. Anyways,
not a good section of time for you.
not a good section of time. 9/11 really fucked me. 2001, not a good year for Spencer. Specifically for me. But in
Only you.
only me.
I was still being toilet trained.
Yeah, I was 3.
Shit. I fucking, yeah. You know what I hate, though, is I hate that there's kids that are born after 9/11 that are allowed to drink now. I don't like that.
That's what it's funny. One of the things I ask people like to determine like how old they are, I'm like, do you remember 9/11? So it's funny we talked about it because I don't fucking remember it. Yeah, not at all.
The faintest memory, and I don't know if it's a false memory.
I do not remember it at all. Just perfectly honest. I've watched tons of things about it. There's one, The Jumping Man. It's a good documentary. That's a good watch.
That one's a really good watch. The actually, my favorite piece of media about 9/11 is Howard Stern's broadcast from 9/11.
I've listened to that too. Yeah.
It's fucking insane because he was far better, I think, than any other broadcaster because he was letting people voice their opinions on what was happening without fear of like whatever and being judged or whatever.
I mean, old Stern is fucking awesome. Just
old Stern is great
in general.
Yeah.
I mean, like the things he could say on the radio, the things they did, whether you think it's funny or not, but just the fact, the freedom he had to do what he wanted on the radio.
He's part of the reason podcasts are a thing.
100%.
It's like that is a big reason. But that broadcast and then the day after actually is a really good one too because it's a very somber one. It's super weird because everybody couldn't get into the studio in New York, so they had to like there was trouble. Like Artie Lang had to take a boat to get into the city from New Jersey, and then when he gets in there, he brings Howard breakfast and stuff because there was no breakfast places open. It's really fucking funny. Like it's a great episode. But going back to Michael, in 2009, while preparing for a comeback concert and tour,
This Is It.
That was not it. He overdosed of propofol, which was administered by his personal physician Conrad Murray, who was convicted in 2011 of involuntary manslaughter. But the same day that he died, Farrah Fawcett also died.
Yep.
Which is really a shame.
I remember when Michael Jackson died because I got suspended from school for fighting earlier in the day.
Really?
Yeah, I got in trouble for fighting.
Did you win?
No, I don't really remember this guy. I remember his name, fucking Jacob. He was like harassing this girl. Basically, we got in a fist fight. But I remember I was suspended, so my parents took like my Game Boy and fucking my TV away. So I was just listening to the radio, and they were just playing Michael Jackson on repeat.
Oh fuck!
So
that's
I remember
funny.
when he died, pretty crystal clear, because I was sitting in my room grounded. So
I was going to baseball practice, and same thing, going there just on the radio.
there's a couple celebrities I remember dying. Like I remember when Robin Williams died. I remember hearing that as well on the radio. I was with my grandpa. So a couple that really stand out in my lifetime, but Michael Jackson's one of them.
I was at a branding when Michael Jackson died when we found out about that, and then a bunch of old cowboys started making jokes about Michael Jackson.
Nice.
A lot of them were very racially insensitive. Anyways,
Probably.
yeah, if there's one thing cowboys are, it's
Racist.
a little racist. All right, so we're getting into notable track lists here. 7 singles released were in the top 10. The Girl Is Mine, Billie Jean, Beat It, Wanna Be Starting Something, Human Nature, Pretty Young Thing, and Thriller, setting a record for the most top 10 singles from an album. Beat It and Billie Jean were number 1, which was surprising. I thought that Thriller would have been number 1 as well, but just those two. Baby Be Mine and Lady in My Life were the only songs not in the top that were not singles.
Yep.
Which is fair.
I don't like them. I wouldn't say they're bad songs, but just compared to the other legendary songs on the album,
they do not fit the album really.
I'm sure there's an alternate timeline where those were smash hits, and an alternate universe where
And the other songs were not?
We're having the same pockets. We're like, yeah, Billie Jean's kind of a stinker. I'm sure there's an alternate timeline. Yeah.
Oh God, how different the world would be.
But yes, there's a couple. There's like 2 songs on the album. Fuck off, you two. Anyways, let's continue. Notable tracks.
All right, I gotta say this. There's some really funny lyrics in this album. Like, okay, Wanna Be Starting Something. My favorite lyric is, if you don't want a baby, yeah, then don't have a baby, yeah. If you don't need a baby, yeah, then don't have a baby, yeah. I just find that so fucking funny. I also find it funny with The Girl Is Mine, because like we talked about this. It's not a good song.
Yeah, it's like, she's my girl.
No, Paul, she's mine.
The girl is mine.
No, Paul, she's mine.
The doggone girl is mine.
No, Paul, the girl's mine.
Yeah, that song I don't like at all, really. Like,
then there's also a weird part where Paul goes, she's mine. Like, he goes up an octave, but he can't hit it quite right, so he's like, she's mine.
Yeah, Paul McCartney on that song. Just that song in general.
Yeah,
not for me.
It's also fucking weird that a 24-year-old and an almost 50-year-old are arguing over a girl at that point.
Yeah.
That's fucking weird to me. Like,
that could only happen in one place. Jeffrey Epstein's Island.
Speaking of Epstein, both of those people were chartered on flights.
Nice.
No, I actually don't know if that's true or not.
We don't know that, but
it would make sense why Michael Jackson's dead.
We like to talk about Epstein, though, almost every episode, so...
Yeah.
Awareness.
Remind people.
Yeah.
Just to remind people, I'm all about the awareness.
I'm all about the awareness, too. Keep an eye on Ghislaine.
I used
doesn't...
to be super into WikiLeaks, so I for one point in my life I used to just read WikiLeaks on Tor browsers, trying to fucking be like, they're not gonna find that I know this information. I was like reading Hillary Clinton's emails, fucking all on fucking WikiLeaks all the time. So yeah, I've done my research.
Jesus Christ. Okay, let's go into the reception of this album.
Fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, 37 consecutive weeks at number 1 on the
8
Billboard.
Grammys, right?
8 Grammys.
Michael Jackson was on the flight.
He was on the flight.
He was on the flight log.
What about Paul, Sir Paul?
Okay, no. But you know what? If Sir Paul isn't and Michael is, then I have a theory. Conrad Murray was paid by the Clintons to kill Michael Jackson. I'm just gonna throw that theory out there now because let's be honest here, that would match up. That would match up.
It could. I don't know. I'm not. We're gonna get Alex Jones status here. We're gonna have to start paying $1 million. Paul McCartney was not on the flight log.
My theory adds up.
There you go.
Theory adds up. All right.
Shout out to Paul McCartney.
Shout out to Paul McCartney. Shout out to the Clintons. Don't kill us. Okay. So received very well though. 37 weeks at number 1. Won 8 Grammys, which was record breaking. Critically 5 stars across the board, except the Rolling Stone.
See, one thing I found funny too, the Rolling Stone described it as a zesty LP.
Yeah.
All I think about when I hear zesty is like salad dressing. So a zesty LP,
When I
1,000
hear-
islands of albums.
When I hear Zesty, I think of the Gypsy Kings. You remember the Gypsy
Yeah, I do
Kings?
remember
That is music I would describe as zesty.
Zesty.
Okay, okay, so about the culture at the time, we're kind of rifling through the last little bit here. We're
Yeah, we
definitely running
gotta.
long.
How are we doing timing
Well
wise?
over an hour now.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez, woo!
But you know what? For the biggest selling album of all time, I feel like it's
Yeah.
fair that we
Fuck
go a
it.
little
Long
over.
episode, Halloween
Yeah.
extravaganza.
I'm gonna pee while you do
Yeah,
Sam's
go
gonna
take a
pee.
pee.
Good.
Okay, so about the culture at the time. When this album came out, 1982, there were very few black artists that were showcased on television. Carson wouldn't show black comedians. Most variety shows didn't feature black acts on them, unless they were black variety shows. And despite the chart-topping success of a lot of artists at the time, MTV kind of had an unspoken rule of not showing black music videos.
Which is just fucking crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Just in general, like, I mean, a lot of the best artists in music right now are African American. Like, it's crazy to think that there was, even back then in the 80s, I mean, like, 20 years after the civil rights movement, they were still having these fucking problems.
And like let's look at people at that time. It was like, you know, you had Diana Ross, you had Prince, you had these absolutely incredible artists who apparently like could not get any airtime. I mean, I wonder, we'll probably find this out when we're doing the Purple Rain episode, but I wonder if maybe that's why he made a movie out of Purple Rain, was because he couldn't get music videos played on fucking MTV.
And I mean, also Prince and Michael Jackson, shout out to some of the best Super Bowl halftime performances
Oh my God.
of all time.
Incredible.
Michael Jackson not only revolutionized, you know, music videos, also he was the first like real serious Super Bowl performance.
Yeah.
Was it 91 or 92 he did Super Bowl?
Yeah, it was I think it
Early
was
90s.
Yeah, it was early 90s. And his was so good, they fucked it up later and they did like a Disney characters one. But when that was happening, In Living Color did a live show at the same time, a live sketch show. So it was like the Wayans brothers and Jim Carrey and all those people. And they did a live one, and it was advertised as an anti-Super Bowl halftime show. And they literally had a clicker at the a countdown clock at the bottom of the screen so that people could flip over to the Super Bowl when the halftime show ended. And their ratings spiked through the roof.
That's awesome,
and were
actually. That's a great
triple
idea.
what the fucking Super Bowl halftime show was, which is so funny.
That's a great idea.
Which also, again, another shout out to black artists that like revolutionized stuff, because in the early 90s, this is totally side note, but in the early 90s, Fox was actually a station for youth in America and black like television series.
Now it's for old people and white people,
which is
so
fucked, because
crazy.
like they started like they had like the Martin Lawrence show and In Living Color and like all these like, you know, black led sitcoms, and they had like, you know, 90210 and like what the fuck was the other one? I forget. There was another show that Matthew Fox and Scott Wolf were in. But there was these like young teen dramas that dealt with like real issues. And then at the same time, there was also these like black sitcoms that appealed to an audience that was not touched on any of the other networks. But going back to 1982, it took prodding to get MTV to play Billie Jean even, which is crazy because that music video, I would say, is like, it's the weakest out of the music videos for the Thriller album.
Yep.
But it's a fucking incredible song, and at the time it was number one on the charts. So Walter Yetnikoff, who was the president of CBS Records Group, reportedly had to threaten to remove all other CBS videos from MTV before the network agreed to air the video for Billie Jean. That was from liveabout.com, but his exact quote was, "I'm not going to give you any more videos, and I'm going to go public and fucking tell them the fact that you don't want to play music by a black man." MTV denies this, but Michael Jackson was the first black artist to be in heavy rotation on MTV.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting.
yeah.
Like we were just talking about before, like it's weird to think even, you know, that's not that long ago, like 40 years ago.
Yeah.
People were still in one of the biggest artists at the time was still had to jump those hurdles.
Yeah.
Just because of the color of his skin. Like, what a crazy thing.
And really, it shouldn't matter if you're black or white.
No. Second time we'll use that joke.
I gotta, you know what? It'll come up a third time.
Nice.
Okay, so, I went over my fun fact. You got a really cool fun fact, though.
I have two, I think.
You do have two.
So one of them I remember I put in. Well, side note, Spencer does a lot of the notes. I just fucking throw in a sentence here and there. We talked about that before too, but Michael Jackson debuted his Moonwalk at Motown Records' 25th anniversary on television. He had learned it 3 years before from a dancer, but he did it performing Billie Jean. So that's one little cool fact.
And that was actually one of the, it is recognized as one of the best recorded dances of all time. Like, just that one special.
That same night, too, debuted the White Glove as well. It's another little fun fact. The White Glove and the Moonwalk came out on the same night, which is just iconic Michael Jackson. I don't remember what else I said.
The iconic
the red jacket from Thriller is done by John Landis' wife.
Really?
Yeah, I forget her. Give me her name, but
Deborah Noodleman Landis.
Deborah Noodleman Landis is a costume designer, and she did also Indiana Jones.
Fuck, that is
and
cool.
she did the Blues Brothers, and she did Animal House. So she's a very successful costume designer, but she did all of Indiana Jones, and she did this iconic jacket. So that's my two little fun facts.
That's fucking incredible. That is actually like so cool. Yeah, mine was just that John Landis directed it. We talked about it earlier though, so I don't want to go into it. But I mean, realistically, before we get into the summary and like the review of the album here, like we do have some criticism. We've kind of touched on it. Lady in My Life shouldn't have been the ending song, I personally believe. I think that it should have been Pretty Young Thing. I think those two songs should have switched, but there was this weird trend in the 80s, and you can see it now occasionally with artists where they would end on a ballad.
Yeah, I was going to say, ending it on the ballad is kind of, I guess, a low note, because there is ballads on the song on the album, but the high notes are certainly the big tracks. Except, I mean, I love Human Nature. That's a great song.
Human Nature is great. And honestly, if they had ended it with Human Nature instead of Lady in My Life, I think it would have been better.
Either or, but there's a couple. Yeah, that song I don't it doesn't feel like the right ending. I mean, it's not a bad song by all means, but doesn't fit the ending. You kind of think of either, one of the hits or, a upbeat song to finish off the album.
You know what? Actually, I want to say this. What if the first side of the album had been all of the love songs? And Want to Be Starting Something, and then the second side of the album was the fucking like bangers, and you end on Thriller.
That's interesting. I think it would be nice to end on Thriller because it's like track 4 on the album or something. So to end on Thriller would be nice. It's on A-side,
so like that's the one that you end A-side on. I think that let's talk about this. My ideal thought for how this album would be arranged: Want to Be Starting Something, then Human Nature. Then I would still keep The Girl Is Mine on number 3 just because McCartney's on it, so that sells albums. Number 4, you'd put Baby Be Mine. Then you flip it over, and the next side still stick with Beat It as the first one, then Billie Jean, then Pretty Young Thing, then Thriller.
I can get on board with that. Yeah. That's pretty killer.
And you kill Lady in My Life.
I mean, we're just stretching to find fucking things to criticize the album about, because even with some of the other albums we reviewed, it's fucking hard. These albums, like some of these are masterpieces. It's really hard to actually find things to nitpick.
And like I'm not a musical, like I am a musical hipster, but I'm not to the point where I can't acknowledge that like there's certain things that are just fucking pieces of art. Even
though it's songs that were like, Lady of My Life, whatever we're criticizing, we're not even criticizing the song, just where it is in the album. Yeah. Like literally, like the album is
fucking,
I think whatever which way you rearrange it, it'd be a perfect album. It's really hard to, you could put it in any fucking order and you wouldn't have any issues.
Okay.
The only thing that would suck if the whole album was just The Girl Is Mine. That would be the only thing that would suck.
That would be really bad.
Yeah, that'd be the one thing that would suck.
Although I will say this, The Girl Is Mine would have fit on Off the Wall really well.
Yeah, it probably would have, yeah.
Like, I think that would have been a really good song on Off the Wall, but he wouldn't have had McCartney on Off the Wall. Okay, so we got to get to the review of the album.
Well, we're going to wrap it up,
We're going to wrap it up. So we review the album on technical element, musical element, lyrics, reception, album art, and does it hold up? Technical element.
Can we do it out of how many Vincent Prices out of Vincent Prices?
Oh shit, that's the other thing.
We didn't even talk
forgot
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that is actually crazy because like I was reading a lot of things about that and how people were apparently like, it's so funny now, like it's kind of goofy, right? Like we listen to it and we're like, oh yeah, it's cool because he's iconic.
Yeah.
And it's a little silly, but apparently a lot of people were like, it was fucking creepy hearing his voice on that.
And at that point in time too, like, I mean, the Thriller made him certainly more iconic, but he was, known, but he wasn't as known the same way. He did a lot of B horror movies, whatever it may be. So
he was I believe in movies with Christopher Lloyd, who ended up playing Saruman in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
which is crazy because he played Dracula for like 30 films.
Yeah, so he did a bunch of horror movies in the, I guess, like 40s, 50s, 60s.
Yeah.
And I think there was a large gap in his career, and then he did this Thriller video, if I remember correctly. So
fuck, that's crazy.
Pretty fucking cool that they brought him on board, and he cemented his iconic status, like, in one music video. Pretty fucking cool.
That's fucking nuts. So, okay, so out of 10 Vincent Prices. Okay, so technical element. I hate to say it, but it's going to be really hard to give this anything but like a 9 or a 10 across this
I feel
album.
like this album might be our first 10. I had a feeling because
I had a feeling too.
I really am having a hard time like even thinking about what to rate it. Like I said, there's so many iconic songs.
There's so many iconic songs, and like technically it's fucking 10 out of 10.
It's the best of the best for on it.
It's mixed perfectly. There's like technically speaking, there's nothing wrong with it. Musically speaking, there's nothing wrong with it. They literally got the best artists that they possibly could. And even if you want to go into the music videos, I mean, they got the best of the best to make these.
Do we even have
videos.
to go through each rating? I mean, I feel like it's just like 10 Vincent Prices out of 10 Vincent Prices.
I feel like we just got to do 10 Vincent Prices.
That's our first 10.
It's our first 10. This is our first 10, and I don't know if it'll be our only 10. I'm sure there will be other 10s. I'm sure there'll be other 10s, but it's literally impossible to give it anything but, and it's not just to like follow the trend. It's like, if I'm being honest, the amount of times that I've listened to this album in the past week, I was actively looking for things to dislike about it, and I couldn't, and that's kind of frustrating.
It's like you said it perfectly, man. It's hard to find things like I said earlier. It's hard to find things to dislike about the album, to criticize on the album. Like everybody that came together are legends. Michael Jackson's a legend. The writers,
legends. Quincy Jones, legend. All of the sessional musicians, legends. All of the people involved with the music videos, legends. Like it, and he obviously had a lot. Like we talked about this, where you mentioned in Billie Jean, him saying no, like this needs to be as long as it is. Even with him having so much control, he still had so many people that were so good at their jobs. This is a 10 out of 10.
It's perfect oiled machine. 10 out of 10 from us today. I'm fucking 5 on that.
First 10. Well, I think that's the end of the podcast.
Yeah, that's it. We appreciate you. We appreciate you listening.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And salutations, anal constitutions.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Misfits on Vinyl, hosted by Spencer Streichert and me, Aaron Walsh, and of course produced by Sam the Tech Man, Sam Lindsay. If you like us, please rate us, subscribe to us, share us. Our socials are Misfits on Vinyl Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. If you want to send us an email with any suggestions or criticisms, we love that shit, so send it away. It's misfitsonvinyl@gmail.com. We love you guys. Thank you.